Am I the idiot for telling my son I'd rather have his ex-wife as a daughter than him as my son? 16 years ago, my son Matthew had a daughter with his now ex-wife Josie. I have always thought of Josie as my own daughter, so when they divorced 7 years ago due to my son cheating, I was conflicted and disappointed. Josie wasn't particularly close with any of her family, so my husband and I naturally took them in. Josie was an angel. She had insisted that we didn't have to lift a finger more than before we had taken them in, and though she was hurt, she kept civil around Matthew. My husband and I held a huge hand in raising their daughter Ruth, because Matthew remarried less than a year later and now has a 4-year-old son after disowning Ruth. 2 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with lung cancer. It was hard on everyone, especially Ruth. They were extremely close. She told him about her girlfriends and boyfriends before anyone else and has always wanted him to be the one to walk her down the aisle at her wedding. Matt rarely ever visited and didn't answer our calls, often saying that we had other kids, so it wasn't like my husband was dying lonely. Last night, Matt stopped by to talk about inheritance. He never mentioned Josie nor Ruth and hinted that he thought he should get more inheritance than his siblings the entire time. My husband and I shared awkward looks until he decided to cut in. He explained that everyone would get a piece, but he'd focus more on Ruth and Bonnie, one of our other grandkids. Matt got angry and said that Ruth was just a bastard and that his son deserved more than her. My husband got furious after that and left the room, saying that he wouldn't include Matthew at all. Matt yelled back and turned to me, saying that Ruth wasn't worth it because she'd just grown up to be a whore like her mother. I told him that I'd rather have her mother as my daughter than him as my son and insisted that he leave. I'm getting phone calls from Matt's wife and family friends saying that my husband and I overreacted and he was just angry that we were playing favorites. Am I the idiot? Edit. To clear some things up, Josie did not cheat on Matthew. Josie and Matthew met later in college and Josie was known as a party girl before that. Ruth isn't the product of an affair, but we are planning on getting a DNA test because what Matthew said has gotten under Ruth's skin. She was at the house when this occurred and overheard it. When it came to taking in Josie and Ruth, we didn't hesitate because Josie is not from here. She and Matt lived in another country until he moved them here a few months before he got caught cheating, and they had nowhere else to go as Josie was a stay-at-home mom. I had no intention of choosing Josie over Matt, then and now, and I never discouraged Matt from visiting. I tried to make it very clear that we weren't picking and choosing when we took Josie in. We just wanted her and our granddaughter to be safe and have a good home. Update. This situation is what my grandchildren have described as messy. There is a lot that happened, so I'll try to sum it up in one explanation. We had been trying to talk with Matthew for several weeks after what happened, and we were only met with silence. He and his wife would refuse us at the door and he never answered his phone. There was obviously something we didn't know from his side of the story, but we can't make a judgment based on what we could possibly not know. I sat Josie down and asked her if she knew what could possibly be happening. She never talked much about her and Matt's marriage, and we never pried. Josie broke down and told us that their marriage wasn't great from the beginning and that Matt cheating wasn't something new, and that moving here was because he told her he would stop once he was closer to his family. She says she never told us because she was embarrassed and she didn't want to turn us against our son. A few days ago, Matthew came by our house well after midnight while drunk. He insisted on talking, so I brought him to the basement patio. He told me that he thought Josie was cheating on him from the beginning but had no proof nor any reason to think it. He just couldn't think that such a pretty ex-party girl would stay faithful. Josie getting pregnant wasn't off track for their bedroom life, but he just couldn't believe it. There wasn't much sense to his words, but he did say she's so pretty and I love her so much. Why would she stay faithful? He started having affairs after Ruth was born, and Josie knew she stayed because she didn't want Ruth to have a dysfunctional family. Eventually, he started repeating that he effed up and being a crappy father is the only thing he's good at and that he can't disappoint anyone if there's nothing to look forward to with him. He said I'm an idiot and that's it, no changing it. I'm not good at being the villain, and called his wife for a ride home. He's gone back to ignoring us and I'm not sure what to do. His wife Ellie has told us that she's tried and it's not a fight we're going to win. In an even longer story short, Ruth is 100% Matt's daughter and it looks like we're going to have to raise our grandson too. I hope everyone has gotten their fill of drama today. Not the idiot. So to his reasoning. He was justified in disowning his daughter because his wife was too pretty and he loved her too much. Just wow. I'm sorry that your son is so warped. This is not your fault. Any person walking away from their responsibilities is doing it for their own reasons, and they are the only ones at fault. Not the idiot. So sorry your son plays the victim instead of taking responsibility for his poor choices and bad actions. Sorry he is punishing you for your good decisions. People rarely change. This is who he is. So sorry your son only came around because he was interested in inheritance. Glad Ruth and Josie have you in their lives. Make certain your son cannot touch his children's inheritance. Is the son a piece of garbage? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for calling my daughter a terrible mother because I won't be seeing my grandchildren on Christmas? I need an outsider opinion. I, female 46, have been having problems with my daughter Sarah, 24. It began when she eloped with her husband 3 years ago. Me and my husband were really sad that we couldn't see her get married or even know about it until it was over. We were sad but got over it. It was her day, and if she didn't want anyone there, then that was that. We talked on the phone or met up at least every week, so it was a huge surprise. Then they moved down 2 states. It would be a trip to visit, so we still talk on the phone more instead of visits. So for holidays we would visit or they would visit. This year at Thanksgiving she brought a surprise, her son Dave, 1 month. I didn't even know she was pregnant. We talked all the time and nothing. Again, it was sad that we missed such a large milestone in her life but didn't say anything. We were happy to meet the grandbaby. I called today to ask about what they wanted me to bring out for the baby for the Christmas visit, the old baby bed and whatnot. Sarah told me that they will not be coming up for Christmas. I asked if we were going down this year. She said no, it was just the nuclear family for Dave's first Christmas. I asked if we could FaceTime Christmas morning or that day to see Dave and their tree, and she said no. After that conversation I talked to my husband. We are both sad again and tired of missing milestones in Sarah's life. I sent Sarah a text that me and her dad are going to take a step back. Low contact. She called and asked what this was about. I told her and it broke into an argument. That it is her life and she can do what she wants with her kid and so on. I told her she clearly doesn't want us involved in her life and that she was a bad mother. She called me an idiot. So am I the idiot here? I need a second opinion. Update. I took everyone's advice and it has been a long week for the family. I gave her a call after a lot of people asked me to reach out again and asked her straight up what she wanted. Did she want us out of her life? What is going on, and to please be honest. She was quiet for a bit and hung up after saying give her some time. I thought that was the end of it and she would reach out later or never. Well, on Monday she showed up at our house after an 8-hour drive. Sarah sat both of us down and told the full story of what was going on. She was happy with eloping and just didn't want to spend money on a wedding. We knew this one. For the baby, she was never pregnant. Her husband cheated on her and got another woman pregnant. Sarah found out about 2 months before the kid was born. She didn't tell us because Sarah knew we would tell her to leave him. 100% true. She wanted to fix the marriage, and in doing that she kept it a secret so her husband wouldn't get any backlash. She told us the only reason they were able to meet Dave was due to Biomom dropping the kid off so she could visit her family across the country. There is no custody agreement. It's been a huge mess on their end and the marriage is rough at the moment. Sarah was planning to go to Christmas at our place at the beginning and explain the situation, but Dave would be with biological mom and husband didn't want the secret out. So when we called her saying we were going to take a step back, Sarah was very upset. She thought she was losing her family over a secret to protect her husband. Her husband didn't help since he never had a close family, so he didn't understand why she was upset. Sarah and her husband got into a huge argument about the whole ordeal. When I called again, she already made up her mind that she will be telling us and going to Christmas at our house. She took time off and drove down and will stay for Christmas. She doesn't know what she will do with her husband and if she will try to fix it or leave. She did tell us to stay out of it since she wants her decision to be 100% on her. We will respect that even though we are hoping she leaves him for this stunt. Thank you everyone that commented on the last post. You had some great advice and made us really think about what was going on. Not the idiot. I'm glad you at least understand what's going on. I know it's got to be disappointing to find out that Dave isn't your grandson. But your daughter was trying to handle things as best as she possibly could. Be supportive of your daughter while she's in your home. Do not offer advice unless she asks for it. Your daughter already knows your position. Her head knows you're right. Her heart is involved in this process, too, though. She just needs time to process what's happening and accept that she can't stay with her husband and think things are going to get any better with him. Did this grandmother cross a line? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for choosing my stepsister over my real sister? I'm worried I destroyed my relationship with my sister. This past weekend, my female 18, bio sister Dan, female 25, got married. Some backstory is that my mom and dad amicably divorced when I was 8 and Dan was 15. My dad started dating my now stepmom when I was almost 9 and got married by the time I was 12. Stepmom had a daughter who moved in with us. Grace, female 18, is the same age as me. We never got along until around our mid-teen years, and I like to say that I have a bonus sister that I love with all of my heart. Unfortunately, Dan never liked stepmom or Grace. There was a big age gap and she never got over our parents' divorce. She never forgot about me when she went to college and eventually moved out and begun dating her now husband. Anyways, stepmom and Grace were not invited to her wedding over the weekend. Her wedding was about a 3-hour drive away from my dad's house. My dad and I decided to carpool. About halfway through the drive, my dad got a frantic call from my stepmom. Grace had an accident while riding a house at her grandparents' and got taken to the hospital in an ambulance. I can't really describe the desperation coming from stepmom over the phone. Dad told me we had to turn around and tried calling Dan. He couldn't get a hold of her, so he called my mom. He let her know that we had to turn around due to an emergency and he wouldn't be able to walk down the aisle. The wedding started at 1 p.m. and we left at 8:30 a.m., so we turned around at 10 a.m. By the time we got to the hospital it was 11 a.m. Luckily, Grace only fractured her back and wasn't seriously injured. The doctor said it could have easily been a major or deadly injury. I was so anxious that I was nauseous and I don't feel comfortable driving 3 hours on my own. I texted my mom and Dan letting them know everything that I won't make it. I didn't hear back from Dan until that night, saying she was so disappointed in me and devastated that she chose my stepsister over her real sister. It's now Wednesday and she still hasn't answered me. I also think I'm blocked from her FB. Am I the idiot because I missed her wedding? ETA, I'm getting a lot of questions regarding this. My sister did not have a rehearsal dinner or a wedding party. That is why we weren't there the night before. Our plan was to be there at 11:30. Our mom arrived at 10. The original plan was to have a big brunch the following day with all of the family members that had to travel. Also, you were in the part of the state we were going to is almost non-existent, especially for a considerable drive. Edit. 12:26 p.m. and just got off a phone call with Dan. We are having dinner on set in the city she lives in. Dad was not invited to join us. At this time I am going to keep the details of the call private. I hope to update this Sunday or next. Update. Hey everyone, I'm not sure if this is the right thread to post my update, and I'm unsure how to link my original post, so that's in my profile. Like I said, I was able to speak with Dan and we had lunch last weekend. Some people assumed that she found my post, which she did, but she never commented. I drove up and we met at a nearby park and she brought lunch. It was an awkward silence for a couple minutes because I didn't know how to start. Dan said the first words. She said, "I'm sorry for how I reacted, but I'm not sorry for being mad." It fell into more silence. I started apologizing that I should have been there and I wish I did things differently. To answer some questions, I ended up asking her about the divorce and whether cheating was ever a possibility, and she confirmed what my mom said, which was no. However, she did tell me that it felt like our dad replaced her with Grace and she felt tossed aside, which I never realized. Dan told me that because we never saw each other much after she moved out, she tried to impress me when we did see each other. At this point we were both crying on this park bench and I felt like a weight was lifted off my chest. She let me hug her and I kept telling her how sorry I am. She doesn't blame me for not driving myself up, but she wanted me to still show up at the brunch. At this point in time she doesn't think she will be forgiving our dad soon, or at all for that matter. She doesn't blame Grace and wishes her the best. Our relationship is a little awkward right now, but I'm going to be putting in a lot more effort with her. We've been talking on the phone and we are planning a little girls trip in the summer. For anyone wondering, Grace is going to make a full recovery. She is in a back brace for a few odd months, but as of yet she hasn't had any nerve flare-ups. My dad has been hounding me to make Dan call him, so I've been at my mom's still until my dad calms down. Anyways, I'm not sure this was the update a lot of people wanted based on the comments I got on the original post, but thank you everyone nonetheless. Everyone sucks here. Yeah, I don't blame your sister for her feelings about your father's family. It must have been so hard to see her dad and sister become so close with Grace. Your father should be walking her down the aisle, so this is hard to forgive. Tell your dad to respect this and give her space. It sounds like your relationship is not as close as she wanted, even with all her effort, and she is grieving that. You're the idiot. You are very lucky to have a sister who is allowing you in her life. I would not be. Take this chance to reflect how you want this relationship with her to be and put in the effort like you said. Clearly you weren't before. In her eyes, you will be doing, because second chances don't come this often. Although, I don't know how you'll ever make it up to her. It's a good start you aren't forcing your sister to contact your dad. Am I the idiot for backing out of my best friend's wedding since the best man was my ex-fiancé who cheated on me? Jump into the worst week of my life. I was with my ex-fiancé for 6 years, loved him with every fiber of my being. The wedding planned for August, refused a job offer so I could move with him for his next Air Force assignment. Monday, a call girl from a website called Massage Republic texts him in the middle of the night saying she's reaching out to old clients because she's back in the game. His phone was at my house while he was flying. I text back she must have the wrong number. She says she doesn't. In a moment of brains I pretend to be him instead of the jealous girlfriend, and call girl gives me all the details. I'm such a fool, this has been happening under my nose for years. I confront him. He claims to be a sex addict and promises to change. I consider it for half a second and say no. Cue uncontrollable crying, self-doubt, a battery of STD tests, awkward encounters with him, fight over the ring, his mom, who I loved, calling me non-stop and begging me to reconsider, and on and on. And on top of all this, my best friend is marrying his best friend on May 11th. Groom doesn't want to rock the boat at this late date and select a new best man. Bride says she has way too much on her plate and is begging me to just go through with it and she'll make it up to me. I've never hated a human being as much as I hate him. I can't be in the same room with him, let alone walk arm in arm with him. I understand the whole wedding doesn't need to fall apart because I'm upset. So I just want to not go and spend the day downing the leftover painkillers from my wisdom teeth operation, fricking as many Tinder dudes who can stand to be around me after not showering and burning all his poop. Would I be an idiot if I backed out of the wedding? Edit. Wow, I checked out for a few hours to try and sleep and this exploded. I'm so sorry, I haven't been reading, I'll try and catch up at it too. Okay guys, I don't know what the verdict is, but whether or not you voted you're the idiot or not the idiot and said I should go anyways to support my friend. We were friends before we were born. Our moms were college roommates. Your argument were the most convincing. I'm going to suck it up, participate, have fun, make my lock screen image the text from Panama where she said, "Remember, you like tonguing my asshole." So when I get sad I have an instant reminder of who he really is. And then when it's all over I'm going to scream myself hoarse and beat the ever-living frick out of my pillows. If I can update a week from now I will. I still have a lot of reading to do, so thank you all for commenting. Edit 3. That won't be seen. Guys, I've had the worst week of my life and been crying almost non-stop since 3 AM last Monday, or Tuesday, or whatever. I have to clear up people calling my best friend an idiot. That just isn't the case at all. I love her as much as I love any person on the planet and she has my back. But this wedding is now a week away. It's not a simple thing of kicking me out or asking my ex-fiancée not to come. Everyone is furious with him, but only she, me and he know the details of calling girls. My ex's parents, grandparents and everyone else are going to be at the wedding. He's as close with the groom as I am with her. If they make big changes now, then the day becomes about what he did, not about the wedding. It's not my place to demand the groom change his best man. A week out no less. Plus like I said, he knows my ex cheated. He doesn't know my ex was sleeping with prostitutes. If I bring that up, then this whole week becomes about that. My best friend and her groom being assholes isn't even an option on the table. They didn't do anything wrong and just reacted with the best information they have. My friend has offered me the chance to allow me and ex-fiancé to walk in with other people or even separately, but I'm not going to do that. First of all, because I think it will look weird. And secondly, I foresee getting a sick sense of satisfaction of touching him one last time, forever, and have him know that spark he feels. Could have been forever come August, but he fricked it up. Update. Some of you may also know that my story got featured on major news websites and blogs. It was crazy. I left way too much identifiable info in my post, so pretty much all my social circle knew it was me, and it was also the way most everyone figured out ex had been cheating. We had a meeting among the four of us as to whether or not we proceed. We pretty much agreed that not showing up would cause more drama and whispers than if we didn't show up, so we agreed to be civil and stay in our respective places. But having to spend that hour or so in the same room with him just fueled me up with adrenaline and pure rage. That led into a bachelorette party that night where I got freaking hammered and honest to God made out with so many guys while dancing I can't even count. I also ended up having my first one-night stand ever with a 20-year-old super cute guy from our university's wrestling team who was so sweet. I'm not proud of doing that, but I'm also not ashamed either, because it made me feel desirable and almost like I was going into the wedding day and rehearsal with some parody, since he can be naughty too. Ex and I were of course paired up at rehearsal, and I hate to admit this, we had an absolute blast with each other. It wasn't a mistake that we had such a great and fun relationship. We are very compatible. It probably also worked because we were able to put the issue on the side and focus on something else. Wedding was very much the same way. We walked arm in arm down the aisle with big beaming and genuine smiles, since we were there for our friends. I had prepared a really nasty maid of honor toast that would have praised my friend and her loving relationship, loyalty and truthfulness. I even included a line about you never know who is going to call in the middle of the night. But as the reception wore on, I could tell the weight of the situation was really getting to my ex. I felt like I really didn't need to twist the knife any further, so I gave a nice but very generic toast. As night went on, the ex was more and more out of it and sitting by himself, either on his phone or with his head in his hand. I didn't want people talking about him, so I asked him to dance with me, which was actually really nice since we both didn't say anything. At the end of it, he put his hands around my face like he was going to kiss me. I would have totally let him in that moment and just whispered how sorry he was and walked away. I got distracted and turned around. He had apparently left the reception. I hate myself for it, but I was so sad to see him go. This wedding is literally the last thing we ever have to do with each other. There's no expectation of got Sundays or Bloody Mary brunches with his mom. We won't argue over how bad IPA beer smells or who forgot to put gas in the car. Like the reality of him just being able to leave without me arguing that I'm not ready to go yet. Classic introvert, extrovert pairing here. Sunken that this is over. Like over. I went and cried uncontrollably in the kitchen of the hotel until the bride found me and cried for a good half an hour. With that, I knew I made the right choice in being there for my friend. So that is that. The wedding is over and done with. No real drama. Lots and lots of hurt feelings and a huge broken heart that I'm not sure how it will ever heal. I wish I could just turn off loving him, but it's not going to happen. Edit. Last word on this, guys, and it's really honest to God say thank you. This sub has been such an amazing place, and a particular shout out to UseSagefist, who is a great moderator and absolutely coaxed me into the right decision. I still have something like 12 inbox notifications, and I'm sure the people who gave me gold and silver are in there somewhere. If I don't get to thank you privately, please know that I do thank you. And thank you so much for the words of encouragement that I will move on. I know I will. Right now it's so fresh, and I just keep thinking, God, if you wouldn't have been up that night worrying about work, you never would have seen the text come in and you'd be ignorant to all of this ... and happy. But that's not healthy, because wishing to live an uninformed and ignorant life is never what I want it to be. Anyways, I'm indulging in self-pity and I don't want to do that anymore. This has been a crazy ride and I just want to say thank you. And Fox News ... you kinda suck. About the idiot. You are seriously an amazing, incredible person to have been able to stay and continue with this wedding after everything that he did. And this is something your friend will never forget. that despite all of the pain, you stuck with it for her. You did something most people would not be able to do, not with the grace that you handled it with anyway. I know I would not have. You are obviously an amazing, kind, loyal, and principled person, and one day, if you are ready for it, someone else, someone who gives you the respect and care that you deserve, will be beyond lucky to have you as a partner. Should she have gone to the wedding? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for asking to have dinner with my father and not the woman that he cheated on my mom with? So I, female 20, have a bit of a strained relationship with my father, 63 meters. He cheated on my mom with his current wife and left once my mom found out. Now the issue is that I am always uncomfortable around his new wife. I am polite to her and nice, but I don't want to be in a room alone with her. I mainly just talk to my father when I visit and don't engage in too deep of conversation when we talk. This wouldn't be a problem if he wasn't always with her. I recently asked if we could get dinner one-on-one or something and he said that's not fair. He said they're a package deal and that she is a part of his life and he's committed to her. He then said that once I became friends with her then we could do one-on-one stuff. I said I'm sorry, I just can't be friends with her. I just can't. I am a horrible liar and people can easily read my face and body language. He got upset and said that I must not love him enough. I told him that isn't true. He then used an example of how if you were to hate my partner, a woman, then people would agree that he obviously doesn't love me if he doesn't accept them. I said that's different, but he said it isn't. I just really want to know, was it an idiot thing to ask? I said I was sorry for suggesting it, but I don't feel like it was wrong to at least ask him of that, even if it was a bit selfish. Update. Okay, so I talked to my dad about how his comment comparing my partner to his wife was completely wrong and he said that his wasn't. What a shocker. He then went on to talk about how I am a judgmental person and he never judges anyone for their actions, unless it's murder or child abuse, since you never know what someone is going through. I just told him whatever. I guess I am judgmental, but still it hurt me that he cheated on my mom with his wife and he said that it wasn't cheating. He said the marriage was over and I said, how did you know that? Did you talk to mom about it? He then said he knew it was over because she didn't get him his 401k at his new job, and if you want to spend the rest of your life with someone you'd do that for them. He said when he asked why she didn't, she said figure it out yourself, and he took that as the marriage being over. I later found out that's a complete lie and she actually did get him and her both a 401k, so yeah. He then went on and asked me when the last time I saw my mom was, since he wanted to compare. I said it was my uncle's, mom's second brother, funeral. He then angrily said, well, okay, when did he die then? I broke down crying because I didn't want to think about the day my uncle died. He then just sighed and said, okay, doesn't matter, my point is you see your mom more than me and that's not fair. I was so upset, so I just said, okay, listen, I can't talk to you as much anymore. He got upset and asked why and I explained everything to him. He just said that I am being judgmental again and I'm punishing him and hurting him. I said you hurt me when you cheated on my mom. He then said he only hurt me and my mom once and this will hurt him forever. I said that was wrong and I won't be talking to him unless it's a holiday or something important. I haven't talked to him since. Thank you everyone for your comments and advice, and I'm sorry that some of you have dealt with similar, worse situations, but I'm glad to know I'm not alone. Not the idiot. And your situation is almost identical to mine about 30 years ago. My dad had been having an affair for 3 years and almost convinced my mom that she was the unhappy one and that he was happy in the marriage. She finds out about the affair and ugly divorce ensues. The mistress had been trying to cultivate a friendship with me. I knew her from my job, probably in the hopes of making an easy transition when my dad left my crazy demanding mom. When I was about to get married, I wanted to just talk with my dad about the plans. Not him and his mistress, just him. And he said the same thing as your dad did. She and I are a package deal. Ever since, I don't have a relationship with him, and I've been much happier that way. The gaslighting and desire to look like the good guy won out of his responsibility to actually be the good guy. Sometimes the trash takes itself out. Sending sisterly hugs. Would you keep seeing your dad if he acted like this guy? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for saying this after my dad cheated on my mom? I used to be really close to my dad, but then he cheated on my mom when I was 13. Well, that's when she found out and got his mistress pregnant and left my mom and married her. My mom still made me go over and see them because apparently he still loved me. So now my dad and I have a weird relationship where I can't cut him off because he's my dad, but I don't like his wife. She tries to have a relationship with me and wants my approval but have some respect and leave me alone. And don't really want anything to do with the kid, but I'm still nice. BC, it's not his fault his parents suck. I am 26 and have a boyfriend. I'm gonna marry him one day. He's the one for me, and my dad wanted to meet him and talk to him. I joked, but not really a joke, and was like, haha, are you going to be one of those dads who threatens their daughter's boyfriends? Are you gonna tell him not to cheat on me? Are you even allowed to say that? Or is that not a threat because you support cheating? My dad started crying, which was new for me because I kid you not, my dad is one of those retired army, football, steak, hunting, no crying kind of man. He told me that losing my brothers and me was the worst thing that's ever happened and that he's scared that my brothers will never talk to him again. He said he spent 13 years trying to be a good dad to me, but I never came back to him. He told me that his and my mom's relationship had absolutely nothing to do with me and that he loved me more than anything. He begged me to forgive him and talked about how my mom forgave him and is happily married. He told me he just wants to make sure I'll be safe with the guy and that he's my dad and allowed to care about me. I told him he's hurt me worse than anyone, so he's hypocritical for trying to see if I'm dating a good guy or not. I couldn't be there anymore and just left. Edit. These comments have helped me realize that while what I said was okay, it is obvious that I am still hurt and that I love my dad. I do think I want a relationship with him. Does anyone know what I should do about his wife though? Super lost on that one. Edit 2. Texted my dad and asked him when he's free to talk. He lives in the same state as me, so I am happy we can have this discussion in person. Update. Thank you to everyone who gave me advice on the previous posts. It really helped me realize that while I was still angry with my dad, I do want a relationship with him. I decided to take the advice from many of you and talk to him about my feelings. He met me after work last night and we talked. I told him that I loved him but was really upset at him. I told him that I needed to know the truth about if he really regretted his decision and to not worry about hurting anyone with the answer. He told me that it was a hard question, that he loved his wife and new son but loved me and my brothers and would always care and love my mom. Not in love, so he regretted the way he went about it. I told him that I'm going to therapy to help deal with it all, and that I need one-on-one time with him because the relationship has to remain separate from his wife. I told him that it means that she is never invited when I invite him over for meals and birthdays, etc. I told him that if he chooses not to come because of my boundaries, it's okay, but I will not be budging. I asked to speak to his wife and reiterated that I'm not comfortable with her in my life after what she did. I told her I know my dad is guilty too, but I love him and had a previous relationship with him. She cried and said she really wants to be in my life and that the extended family is going to pick me over her. It was kind of awkward, and I know you all may think that I was rude, but I can't have a relationship with her without fixing mine with my dad's. Lastly, I talked to my mom and she said that her new husband is far better for her than my dad was and to not worry about her and that she's proud of me for facing my feelings. My stepdad told me he's proud too. I invited my dad for dinner next week with my boyfriend and I am really glad that my dad gets to meet him. Not the idiot. I'm glad you're willing to work things out with your dad. My father also had an affair for a few years, and when my mom found out, she kicked him out, and my brother and I didn't talk to him for years. I ended up rather homeless at one point and ended up moving in with him. He and his affair partner welcomed me with open arms and it really helped to make our relationship better. He died this year, a couple of months after my wedding, of a second brain tumor, and I'm so very grateful for those few years I had with him with a better understanding of his and my mother's relationship. I don't think I can ever forgive the cheating, but he was still my dad. Trigger warning: sexual violence. 2 months ago, my GF was sexually attacked. It was done in a park. She didn't want to report it and went into a full breakdown. Wouldn't speak to police, go to hospital, etc. I couldn't force her, so I just stayed with her. She was, obviously, in a really poop state since, and I've been with her, by her side, listening to her, helping her. We went to therapy, and she knows I'm there for her. She has a history of depression, and I've been really worried. Last week, we found out she was pregnant. I was abroad for 2 months before the rape on work, and came back early to care for her. So the baby definitely isn't mine. She is 100% sure it's the rapist's, so we had a discussion. She is a devout Catholic. We initially decided on abortion, but after she spoke to her mother, she decided to keep the baby, saying that it wasn't the baby's fault. I flat out told her that I would not help raise a baby of a guy who raped her. She cried and begged me not to leave. I told she is the one making the choice. Either she keeps the baby and I leave, or she aborts the baby and I stay. I would not let this go. She didn't want either of those things to happen, so I told her we were done. I feel poop. Was I wrong? Update 1. I'll post the update first, since there has been some change since I last posted. Then I'll respond to some general points made from the last thread, and the ton of PMs I received. Yesterday, I received a call from my GF. She was crying, and she begged me to listen to her. I told her that I still care for her, and that I'll obviously listen to what she has to say. She told me that a few days after I told her we were done, she called up her mother to talk about this. Apparently, what happened before was that she was pretty much decided on aborting. But then when she spoke to her mother told her that under no accounts should she abort, and that I was actually manipulating her to do so. Her mother went on to say that if she aborted the child, she would no longer consider my GF as her daughter. After I left her, my GF called her mom up to talk about what went on. My GF said that she desperately wanted to abort the baby, and her mother again said that if she does so, this is the last time they will ever speak again. My GF said she broke down on the phone, and her mother kept asking her what she would do. The conversation then ended when my GF said she didn't know. Then she started texting. After a few hours of thinking, my GF sent her mom a text saying she was going to abort. She was then blocked. My GF then called me and told me everything. She will be having an abortion in 3 weeks. I discussed this with my GF, and we both completely agreed that I had not manipulated her in any way, and that she appreciated that I put my foot down, because had I not, she would have had a baby who would remind her of the worst time of her life. Her words, not mine. She further went on to say that I am the best thing that has ever happened to her, and that she knew that even if she no longer had a mom, if she had me, she could get through this. I broke down at this point. I love her so much. In truth, I probably would have gone back to her and raised the baby with her, even though I knew I'd resent it. I made the original original thread to get some backing rather than anything, to see if I had made the right decision. I'm so relieved things have turned out the way they have. Also, screw any mother who places religion over their own child. Friggin' lunatics. Now to respond to some of your points from the last thread. 1. No. My GF did not cheat on me. I am almost certain about this, not only because she had the conscience of a fragile angel, but also because we both know each other's schedules really well, and we often talk to friends who can corroborate timings. Moreover, her roommate took photos of my GF after she came home assaulted. It's not rough sex as some of you dicks put it. 2. I don't give a rat's arse if you think abortion is a sin or the killing of a baby. Come and raise the baby, or give us money to raise the baby, or hire us a live-in maid to tend to my GF's every need while she is pregnant if you're so sanctimonious. Talk the talk, then walk the walk, you wanking tit baboons. 3. My GF was absolutely clear she wanted to raise the baby, probably influenced by the mom. 4. Thanks to all the people telling me I did the right thing. It was really difficult. I'm very glad it turned out the way it has though. 5. To the people who PM'd me telling me I'm a monstrous baby killer, I fail to see what my hobbies have to do with this issue. Thanks Reddit. Update 2. I was hoping to post here again after the abortion, still scheduled for 2 weeks' time. But I thought I should provide an update on some recent events from a mother from the pits of Satan's rectum. On Saturday, I answered my door and stood face to face with 2 police officers. They asked me if I was who I was, and I replied I was. They then said they were looking for my GF. I called her over, and the police officer said that he needs to have a word with her. The officers then split, one taking the GF to the living room, we let them in, and the other took me into my bedroom. The officer who took me started asking me questions about how long GF had been here, if she had any contact with anyone else, if she had left the house at all. A few other questions. I answered, and then asked what this was about, but the officer just said they received a report to check in on GF. I asked who reported, and the officer said he couldn't say. After a while, the other officer was done, and they both left. The moment they left, my GF told me that she was outrightly asked if she was in danger, and if I had been hurting her. She was also asked if she was being held against her will. She said no to everything, of course. She said that the police received a call from her mother saying she might be in danger, and that I could be abusive to her. I was freaking livid. I immediately said I was going to press charges against her. For what? I dunno. Harassment probably. My GF begged me to not, and said that it would all just blow over, and that she just needs time to calm down. WTF. She sent the police to my house to get me arrested. How is that sane thinking? I could lose my job if I was arrested and charged. What the hell is she thinking? I told GF that if the mother does anything like this again, I will definitely press charges. So the GF decides on Sunday to talk to the mom to not do anything like this again. They had a conversation for about 2 minutes, then I started hearing sobs. Immediately, I walked into the room, saw my GF was crying, still holding the phone against her ear. I plucked her phone from her hand, and held her for a bit as I heard hello from the phone. Then I put it on me, and said you're a disgrace of a mother and hung up. Then I held the GF for what felt like an hour before we started talking. Apparently, the mother was telling GF how if she continues with the abortion, she will never see the mother again, or her brother, or her deceased father, who is in heaven, even though he died a direct violent alcoholic. But hey, repent your sins at death, am I right? Because GF would be going to damnation. I told GF that if she was going to hell, then she should save me a seat, and we'd be nice and toasty together. I love her smile. What do you think, if anything, should I do about the mother? No doubt my words to her will have some reactions. Response to some people from previous threads and PMs after thread was locked. 1. Abortion was never an option. GF was adamant she wanted to raise the baby, influenced by her mother. And if you suggest adoption anyway, then you truly do not understand just how taxing a normal pregnancy is, let alone one dipped in a beautiful cocktail of rape depression. 2. You can believe my GF cheated on me if that makes you feel better about your lives, I suppose. Just FYI, the pictures and roommate's report showed she had a bloodied nose, black eyes, cuts and bruises against her arms, hands and knees, torn coat and top, bruises around her neck. Cheating. Right. Edit. 3. My GF and I are still going to therapy about all of this. Update 3. I just wanted to update folk on this whole saga. This will be my final update. A few days ago, the abortion was carried out. During the weeks beforehand, my GF went to a counselor and talked to a nurse about why she wanted an abortion. She was also tested for any STIs, she's clear. She went ahead with the abortion after getting the all clear. A few days ago it was successfully carried out. They went for the surgical abortion method, which involved using a vacuum to suck the pregnancy out. GF said it was pretty painless, and she was able to return home after just a few hours. When she came home, she cried and cried and cried. She says she feels like a huge weight has been lifted, and she can finally look to move on with her life. We took the whole week of work, and yesterday we went camping. It rained. While in the tent, she talked about how difficult life was sometimes, but she was really glad things turned out the way they did. Because even though things were bad, she came out the other side, probably stronger than before. She's amazing, man. Seriously. Update on mum. So my GF received a call from her mum, who was asking if she went through with the abortion. My GF and I have an agreement that if mum calls, either hang up or give it to me. In this instance, she answered, didn't know what to say, and gave it to me. I told the mom that the abortion went perfectly, and smiled as she cursed at me for about a minute. I then said how Jesus of you, at which point she hung up. My GF didn't find it funny. Anyway, that's it. Good luck to everyone in their lives. Also, if you're going to message and insult me via PM, just be warned, I've killed a baby before. Do you think this BF was controlling his girlfriend? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for refusing to let my entitled sister and her kids move into my brand new house? I'm a 32-year-old woman and I just bought my first house. It has 3 bedrooms, a yard, and is just what I need right now. I'm single and have 2 dogs. My sister is 34, has 3 children, and lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. Lately, she's been talking about how such a tiny living space is not enough for the 4 of them. When she got to know about the house I had bought, she became very upset and told me I was being wasteful as I'm single and don't have kids and therefore don't need such a big space. I reminded her that what I do with my hard-earned money is none of her business. She went on to complain to our mother about how selfish I was being. Yesterday evening, I got a call from my mom telling me I should let my sister and her kids move into the house. My house. I told her that no one was going to live in the house that I paid for but me, and that extra space would be great for my dogs to play in. My mom also got very upset with me and told me I was being unreasonable, that my sister's kids are growing and need the space more than my dogs. I offered to help my sister out financially so she could rent a bigger place. My mom got my sister on the phone, who shot down the idea, telling me I needed to let her and her kids live in my house. When I refused again, she very generously suggested a compromise. I could live in the house with her and her kids and would not have to find somewhere else to live. She said this as if she was doing me a favor. I told her she had lost her mind and hung up. Am I the idiot, or is she? I know my sister is struggling financially, but this kind of entitlement is ridiculous. Update. After getting the verdict from Am I the Idiot, I decided to send my sister and mom a link to this post, letting them know that I had made it. As expected, they freaked the frick out. My mom has been texting me telling me what a horrible daughter I am and how I've embarrassed her in front of so many people. I told her to calm down as these are all strangers on the internet who have no idea who she is. But asking my mom to listen to reason is like asking my cat to stop shoving things off of horizontal surfaces. So I told her I'd talk to her when she's willing to act like an adult. My sister has been crying about this to my mom and any other relative who will listen. Most of them won't. They had been on my side from the start and had agreed that my sister's demands were ridiculous. They think this whole thing is hilarious. Thank you once again. Edit. Some of you asked in my original post if I really thought I was the idiot. I didn't, of course. I just wanted to show my mom and sister what a group of unbiased observers would think of their behavior. You're the idiot. You were not checking if you were the idiot. You wanted validation from a bunch of strangers online. Then, you even had the audacity to rub that validation into your family's face. I know the exact kind of person you are. You never do anything wrong and are always the victim. Get a life, not the idiot. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall when your sister and mom read the replies to your original post. It's exactly what they deserve too, reading what tons of strangers think of their pathetic and ridiculous behavior. Am I the idiot for calling my brother an idiot for believing my nephew is my kid? I don't even know how this all started, but that seems to be what he thinks now. Only because I, male 30, was in a relationship with his wife Maeve, female 30, when we were freshmen until our junior year of high school. My brother, male 32, and I weren't in each other's lives at the time because he was living with our mom a few hours away and I was with my dad, so he never knew about me and Maeve. They started dating years later. It was weird once we all knew, but I told my brother if he loves her then go for it. At the time I was already with someone else. Also, I'd moved on from having any feelings for Maeve. Now they're married. My nephew is 7. Now suddenly he told the whole family he's staying at his friend's house because he has strong reason to believe my nephew isn't his kid. He only thinks I'm my nephew's father because he looks a lot like me. Then again, I'm an exact copy of my dad. While my brother definitely looks more like mom, so I don't know why he isn't accusing him too. He won't tell me why he's questioning paternity out of nowhere. They've only said they had a misunderstanding during an argument. Now this is what's in his head, but won't give us any more details. The last time we talked he told me he wants a paternity test to prove it. The fact that he believes I'd do something like that alone angered me enough to call him a freaking idiot for not understanding how genetics work. We're brothers, so of course there's a chance our kids might look like the other, but it doesn't mean anything. I put lots of emphasis on how much of a dumbass I think he is for that thought alone, so that's why I'm here wondering. My dad told me my brother is clearly going through something. His mind probably isn't clear, so to insult his intelligence like that was going way too far. My brother obviously seems to think I'm an idiot too, hence why I'm asking if that's accurate after all update. Not sure if anyone still cares, but I know a few wanted an update about this. This whole thing was a lot crazier than I originally thought. Even if the final judgment said I wasn't the idiot, I still apologized anyways for insulting him just so that my hands are clean of this. But I still told my brother how hurtful it is that he'd doubt my word. Instead of trying to ask me, he outright accused me of having an affair with his wife and fathering a child with her. If he seriously thinks it was me, then I'd do the test. He'd have to pay for it, but he better get used to not having me around because we are done after this. Clearly the test came back showing I'm not the father, only showing what percentage of DNA we share given that we're uncle and nephew. Not only that, a day after posting this I'd reached out to Meave again demanding to know what this whole thing started from. Pretty much he suspected she was having an affair because one time he came to her work and she wasn't there. Later on that day she acted like she did go, but he never told her he stopped by. In reality, she had a consultation with a lawyer because she decided to get a divorce. But he didn't know about the divorce at the time. My brother still thought she was maybe cheating and he went through her stuff. Maeve admitted that my brother found her personal journal. She didn't want to tell my family the details about the fight because it was regarding what he read from her journal, and some of the stuff was about her still having feelings for me. He confronted her, so that's how he misinterpreted the whole thing, thinking it was an affair with me. Even though she said in her journal she never wrote it to sound like we were having an affair. She was only admitting still being in love and feeling guilty about being with him only for my nephew's sake. I heard my brother's side too once he was more calm. He too admitted that it got to his head when really nothing in the journal said anything about us. While now I can understand his feelings about what was going on, I still can't forgive him for the way he acted since then. Again, he never asked to hear my side before jumping to accusations. He apologized for it. Maeve did too for unintentionally dragging me into this because she didn't want anyone to find out about her feelings. It's pretty complicated. I needed a day to unplug just to process everything. As far as I know, my brother still hasn't come back to their house. Maeve is still moving forward with the divorce process. Whole thing is a mess. My mom keeps trying to push me to talk to my brother because he feels bad how he treated me, but I already set my condition for doing the paternity test. If he was so sure that I'd be the kind of brother to betray him that way, then we have no business having a relationship. For now, that's what I'm sticking to, not the idiot. Your brother is extremely insecure and immature. Not only was he stalking his wife because he misinterpreted passages in her journal, which is supposed to be private, but also believed you betrayed him and slept with his wife and fathered a child. Now, he's lost both his wife and his brother. I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should repair your relationship with your brother because I don't know whether or not he's behaved this way before. I will suggest keeping your distance from him until you're ready to be anywhere near him. Right now, you don't owe your brother anything.